So much has changed in the last 48 hours that I had to do an update video to the one I did Saturday because it is simply just become redundant. The information is completely different. There are completely different measures that the South African government has come out and put into place. And so I'd be doing a disfavor if I didn't update you on what is current and what is necessary for right now in our South African context. Firstly, we have this big new word that is catching the world by storm, and that is pandemic. Seeing as the World Health Organization declared the coronavirus outbreak a global pandemic, we have seen people turn to panic as their, natural or instinctive reaction to the word pandemic. But what is a pandemic? By definition, it's literally just a sustained or continuous transmission of a disease which simultaneously presents itself in more than 3 geographical locations. It has got no bearing and it does not reflect anything about the lethality of the infection that is spreading, in this case the virus. So labeling coronavirus a pandemic does not mean it has all of a sudden become the most deadly thing on earth, right? It simply means that it is easily spreading across countries all over the world, and it is rather a reflection of transmission and geographical extension rather than lethality. But having said that, you are right to panic just a little, or just be deeply concerned, because with deep concern comes an increased and a heightened awareness of your surroundings, of your hygiene, of the things that we've been crying out to you as South Africans to take care of right in the midst of what is going on. But as much as we have the right to be deeply concerned, let's look at what we know about this virus and why there isn't so much reason to panic per se as much as we are. Firstly, we know what it is. This is better than when we first started, when we had no idea what the virus was. So because we had no idea what the virus was, we didn't know what symptoms to look for, we didn't know how to test for it, we didn't know how it was transmitted. We currently know what it is. So that is one of the reasons why we shouldn't panic. We also know how to detect it. There are detection kits and testing kits that are working efficiently and effectively. So we know what it is, we know how to detect it. Also, the situation in China has improved tremendously. The Chinese government has really cracked down on the spread of this virus, and the patients who are infected with the virus who are being treated are coming out with better health outcomes. 80% of all the corona cases worldwide are mild. The only critical cases we are seeing, as explained in the previous video, is in elderly patients who have comorbidities. So patients who have the coronavirus infection, but who also have other conditions like diabetes and etc. as explained. People recover. This is the next reason why we shouldn't panic. Like I explained previously, the virus can be cleaned from surfaces. It can be cleaned from your skin. It can be cleaned from the surfaces that you touch with the disinfectants we spoke about previously as well. And there are currently a couple of vaccine prototypes in development, but we've also seen a shift in focus towards developing some of the antiretrovirals that are currently available in our market for other viral conditions that have shown promise to be effective against the coronavirus. One of those is remdesivir, I think it's called. Yeah, remdesivir, which is showing promise, and it is top of the list of the antiretrovirals that are the antivirals that are being tested. Then we have chloroquine, which is an anti-malarial drug, which is showing promise in reducing numbers. We also are looking at oseltamivir and Coletro, which is an HIV medication, an antiretroviral, which also shows promise of being effective. So those are some of the reasons why we should not panic. We have a grip on what is known as the coronavirus. We understand what it is, we are working on treating it, and our governments are responding guns blazing. It is exactly this guns blazing approach that we're going to talk about right now, because the South African government has proved us all wrong, I'm going to say. Because what we heard yesterday from the president's speech addressing the current situation and how we're going to tackle this virus from now, they have really taken drastic measures. And so we're going to quickly look at those and outline what the president said yesterday on the 15th of March, which will be the new approach that the South African government is going to be taking. The very first step which was taken was for the president to declare this a national state of disaster in terms of the Disaster Management Act. What this allows is for an increased allowance of fiscal pressure to be released, so there is more financing available for the crisis management, as well as effective rapid emergency response systems to be actioned. So those systems have all come online now. We know we have the disaster emergency response protocols that have been set in place and disaster management centers that are up and running. So the first step was to declare this a natural disaster, a state of national disaster rather. Then we have some really incriminating travel bans which have been imposed on foreign nationals from high-risk countries. These include countries such as Italy, Iran, South Korea, Spain, Germany, and the United States, as well as the United Kingdom and China. As from the 18th of March, those travel bans will be imposed. Also, travel visas from visitors from those countries are going to be cancelled as of today, which was yesterday. So those are going to be immediately revoked. South African citizens are advised to refrain from all forms of travel through European countries, the United States, the United Kingdom, and other high-risk countries such as China and South Korea, which is effective immediately. Any foreign national who has visited a high-risk country in the past 20 days will be denied a visa. How's that? Denied a visa, like flat out, like what we did to the Dalai Lama. Please note, this does not affect South African citizens, valid South African citizens, who wish to return to the country. However, if you are a South African citizen returning to the country from an affected country, you will be subject to increased testing and increased isolation procedures to make sure, obviously, that you don't come in with this global rampaging virus. Effective immediately, also, all non-essential travel from all spheres of government outside of the Republic of South Africa will be prohibited. So not even our politicians are traveling to make international meetings and things, guys. This is serious. The travel ban that has been imposed is comprehensive, and I feel like it also is one step ahead of how other countries have responded in terms of their travel bans. So I do see this as a very positive step and a very crucial step in the government ensuring us that they are doing as much as they can to curb the spread of this virus. The president has also come out and discouraged any social gatherings of people more than 100. These are prohibited. Those are the words of the president. Gatherings of more than 100 people will be prohibited, as well as he is encouraging social distancing, which is a term that we've been hearing over and over and over again from many of the sources of information that you'd be hearing from. So social distancing is to be encouraged. Schools will be closed from Wednesday the 18th of March and will remain closed until after the Easter weekend. Woohoo! I wish I was in school, although I'm not in school at the moment and I should be. However, to compensate for this, it's not just a free holiday. The mid-year school holidays will be shortened by a week. So that's the trade-off. If you thought you were just getting an extra week, I'm sorry, you're not. Your mid-year holidays are going to be shortened by a week. And then visits to all correctional centers are suspended for 30 days with immediate effect. So if you have a loved one or a partner who is in a correctional facility, unfortunately, you will not be able to visit them for the next 30 days. So I want to show you guys a quick graphic of why it is necessary for us to pay special attention to these precautions that the government has set out for us as citizens to take note of in terms of social distancing, in terms of making sure that gatherings of people more than 100 people do not take place. Also, the measures in terms of washing our hands and staying at home for this recommended self-quarantine period of 14 days. All of these is done for a reason. When we have a massive outbreak of a highly contagious pathological agent, what we see that tends to happen is an influx of infected patients. Like we see, we've entered a log phase in terms of the number of positive patients. And because of that, what tends to happen is an immediate demand is placed, a very immediate high demand is placed on our health system, where the healthcare system very quickly meets its capacity in terms of the amount of patients that can be treated for especially for a severe acute respiratory infection like coronavirus. What happens then is we see a bell curve, right? And this bell curve overruns the healthcare system and sees many people visiting healthcare facilities who are unable to be attended to because we have shortages of staff, we have shortages of supply, we have shortages of beds, we have shortages of medicines. This is because the hospital systems become overrun. So what we need to do is we need to slow the growth of the number of positive patients being tested and the number of people developing symptoms, the number of people needing treatment, because if this all occurs as at once, very quickly, the systems are overrun. So we call the idea behind slowing the growth of transmission of disease and of development of disease, this idea is called flattening the curve. And by taking these measures seriously, by applying them as everyday citizens, which we should be because the government cannot do this alone, we are the ones that are going to be infected, remember? So if you don't take note of these guidelines, we will see similar situations as to what happened in China and in Italy, where the hospital systems, mind you, those are world-class hospital systems that have the financial capability to deal with something this big, those systems were still overrun. So imagine our system. Our healthcare system really is not in the place that it should be in order to contain such a big viral outbreak. So we need to play our part. If we do not flatten this curve, we will see our healthcare system reaching capacity and being overrun, which it would suck for each and every one of us. It would be really bad if that happens. So you and I have a role to play in order to flatten this curve, to make. And finally, just to finish up this quick update video, please remember, please remember the preventative measures that have been blasted in your face over and over and over again. Cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. Wash your hands with soap and water for no less than 20 seconds. Avoid contact with animals. Avoid markets and crowded places. And seek medical advice if symptoms appear. By seek medical advice, we mean call a healthcare professional after self-quarantining if you still have symptoms. Do not infect others. Thank you. If you have any questions, I will try to address them. Leave me a comment below the video or send me an inbox, a DM on Instagram or Twitter, and I will try to respond to you as soon as possible.